Nope. Yes, please. Okay.
The downside of live TV is that there's no pause button, no do-overs, and no video editing. This means anything can happen when you're on the air. Fortunately, these little mishaps wind up being used as bloopers. But other times, the unpredictable nature of live TV can have tragic consequences. Here are some crazy live moments that viewers can never forget. Primer Impacto host Jackie Garrido of the Univision network was wearing a white knit mini dress, but this wasn't a surprise to anyone as her style often involved revealing outfits. Unfortunately, this dress made it seem like she was wearing no bra or undies underneath. Obviously, this concerned many of the viewers. Now, do you think you can get high at work and get away with it? The truth will totally shock you. Quentin Somerville, a BBV Middle East correspondent, was covering a story on a drug burning operation, but something unusual occurred. As he and his cameraman started inhaling the fumes, they began to giggle and mess up their lines, as they accidentally got high. It got so bad that Somerville couldn't finish reporting the story. However, if you live in Virginia, you might be familiar with this horrible live moment as it unfolded. Allison Parker and her cameraman, Adam Ward, were conducting a live interview in Bridgewater Plaza, Virginia, on August 26, 2015. That's when a man walked up to them with a gun and started shooting. The broadcast was immediately rerouted to the studio, while confused anchors tried to make sense of what happened. Sadly, Parker and Ward were killed at the scene. You might have been too young when this happened, but TV viewers were shocked by this next event. In 1987, two television stations were hacked by an intruder who somehow replaced regular programming with a recording of a guy wearing a Max Headroom mask and making fun of mainstream TV. While the prank was certainly harmless, it was annoying. But to this day, the hacker responsible for this was never found. Now, do you watch Fox News? If you do, then this ridiculous conversation is bound to leave you totally surprised. If there's one thing Fox News can't go without, it's ticking someone off with their opinions and points of view. To that end, news anchor Andrea Tantaros suggested that living on food stamps would make a great new diet while talking about welfare. She told her co-host, "I should try it because do you know how fabulous I'd look?" However, if you saw what's next, you'd swear you were watching an action flick. During a high-speed chase in Arizona, a Fox News chopper followed a suspect as he drove off the freeway and eventually exited the vehicle. Although the feed was live and in a 5-second delay, they were unable to stop viewers from seeing as the suspect pulled out a gun and blew his brains out. But after you see this next image, you'll never look at horse races in the same way ever again. British reality stars Katie Salmon and Jessica Hayes attended the Cheltenham Festival in England, but this annual horse racing event became unforgettable after the two flashed their breasts when the camera panned in their direction. Unfortunately, the incident was caught live and Salmon and Hayes were banned from attending the festival ever again. Now, this next story will make you bend over with sheer laughter. Rob Leth, a Canadian reporter covering an inner tube toboggan race, will never cover snow tube events ever again. It all happened because he got in the way of the racers, so when he was hit, he flipped over and fell on his back. Still, he proved he was a real trooper and finished his story before slouching over in the snow in sheer agony. Have you ever seen a woman throwing a football while wearing a really tight dress? The host of Kimberly Guilfoyle's show, The Five, was throwing a football around, but Guilfoyle got a little carried away, so after throwing a ball, she got way too excited and jumped back into her chair. But when she lifted her legs and sat down, she unintentionally showed way more than her legs. Fortunately, she wasn't too embarrassed. If you thought that soccer was a manly man's sport, you're in for a real shocker. Sadly, soccer has been known as a men's sport, which is why most commentators are usually men. But during the 2014 World Cup, Vanessa Hoppenkothen, a Mexican TV sports correspondent, proved she had the balls. From that moment on, news outlets around the world started deploring the lack of pretty women in their countries covering sports. Now, this next moment may be one of the weirdest things you'll stumble upon on live television. Anki Baraj, an Albanian journalist, wanted a job at a news station so bad that she wore a blazer with no bra to the interview. Now, most bosses would be put off by this, but the producers were impressed by Baraj's audacity and her cleavage, which landed her the job. If you ever considered working from home instead of a regular job, this next moment will make you change your mind. When a BBC anchor interviewed Robert Kelly, an expert on the impeachment of the South Korean president and all things related to South Korea from his home, things got interesting. In the middle of the broadcast, Kelly's daughter and son ended up crashing the interview. Fortunately, his wife was able to take them away, but the clip was absolutely hilarious. Now, having a Freudian slip happen in general is bad, but what if it happened on live TV?